Soul Awakening Chitchat on a Thursday, 10:20 Pacific Standard Time, 10:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and here I am chit-chatting, right? Let's see. I took a space because I'm listening to the divine. We are going to chit-chat about our uniqueness, our authenticity, our authenticity. It's nice to be part of a collective. It really is. It's nice when individuals get on and they read, they pull cards because they have downloads for the collective. But when you know thyself, it means that you can know yourself as part of the collective. And if the reading is for you, welcome in. I'm thankful and grateful for that statement of hello, gorgeous. Thank you. I receive. So I'm taking it a little slow with what I'm saying because what the universe is sharing with me, or however you label your higher your higher guidance system, it can talk to you. They can talk to you just as if somebody can deliver a message for you. It's not to say that you shouldn't have people assist you with the messages, because sometimes, we get really stubborn in listening to our higher self or into listening to the divine, and the divine or our higher self will open doors for other individuals to come in and share messages that will open us up to being an active listener. So when you listen to a collective message, when you listen to any message, even if you're listening and you're going to seminars, you paid for a seminar, or you paid to go to someone's classes, or it's okay for you to be an active listener and actually say, with everything that I'm hearing, with all the notes that I'm taking down, you get to say, how does this reflect me? In your uniqueness, in your authenticity, because you are an individual seeking a journey. Your higher being, plus your body, plus your mind, is an individual, a unique expression, I'll say it better that way, of the divine seeking a journey. Not just, and the journey can be broken up into many journeys, many books being written by you and closed by you, and opening another book to write another story. And your past, sometimes you want to forget about your past. You're certainly entitled. But sometimes your past stories, when you pull them off the shelf and read them without judgment, they will teach you in this new now moment. Your unique self. Well, I've been through that, and I used to see myself as a victim in that story, but now I see it, that this had to happen a certain way so that I could learn from that experience to be X, Y, and Z in this experience, to become more of myself in this experience. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I'm not here about quoting different things. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a therapist or psychologist or psychologists or psychiatrists with degrees. I'm just a individual expression of the divine that had many awakening experiences to know that I chose the path of service to others. That was my choice. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to sift and sort through the higher polarities and the lower polarities to learn more for growth and expansion. I remember when I had what I considered my very last awakening in all areas of my life, and I thought that this meant that I was never ever going to have a negative situation, a negative interaction, or I wasn't gonna, I wasn't ever gonna be sick. I wasn't ever gonna not have money, and I had to sit with that for a while, because the divine says, no, you're living life. Not no to me wanting to experience it that way, but no, I gave you all these polarities so that you could go and have, these contrasts could show you could teach your higher being what it's like to be in a physical form. And it's going to teach you, your higher being is going to teach you what it's like to be to be formless. And then you're going to merge. You're going to shift. And you're going to evolve. And then, like the divine keeps giving me, wash, rinse, and repeat. And it's okay if you wanted to come in and believe that you've come in only for the collective experience, then let that be so. But you have to decide who you are within that collective, and if that collective experience is working for your highest and greatest good. If somebody's, running up on you, DMing you and saying, I've got a message from the Creator for you, take it with a grain of salt and say, before you ask them to give you that message, sit with yourself and your higher being and find out if this is really, for your higher good, because you have an interconnection with the divine, just like they do, right? And the divine will say, yeah, that message is for me, listen to it. Or it will give you I've had some things where I just go, oh, delete. Because the divine says, nope, that's not for you. And it's not for me to tell them that the divine told them that it's not for me. It's they're just a bot. You get that understanding. It's not meant for you to have confrontation. Though if you're an individual that wants to have confrontation, that likes leaning into your egoic personality, and that's what you lead with, it certainly is a choice. Not right or wrong, just a choice. And here is like in the lessons that I'm teaching on embodying the universal laws on Tuesday afternoons on my YouTube. You get to choose what you want, and then the universe will seek that energy from you and match it. It'll mirror it. So if you, I've heard most people say, well, no, I'm not giving up. My ego steers me. My ego this, my egoic self this and that. And they want to lead with that. Well, you lead with that. You get what you get. And if it's not for, and if it shows up that it gives you a taste that's not for your highest and greatest good, then maybe the divine says, well, I gotta send someone with some information that might help them understand that they're spinning their wheels. They're a hamster in the little wheel, around and around and around. And sometimes the hamster just gets caught in that motion and it doesn't know that it can stop it and jump off. That's right. There are deeper truths within ourselves that get revealed when we're ready for it. And sometimes most of the time we're always ready for it. We just deny it because we're used to pushing down. We've been taught to push down things that are uncomfortable. And the unknown within ourselves is uncomfortable. Like for me, I've been doing, I use myself as an example. I've been doing Instagram for what I consider, I think it's about four years, maybe, who knows, maybe 5, I don't know, 4 years or so. But I got comfortable because I was in that scared mode when I first started. It went to, not scared, having that fear, can I do this? I can't do this, getting over that egoic self-talk, right? To the point where I learned I had to be on the front end as doing videos and lives and reels and that whole thing. And then pushed to the back end of Instagram, learning how to post them and when to post them and whatnot. And then once I got in the groove, the motion of it, it feels good. I grew my family. I like to call them family instead of followers, but this is what each platform calls the people that become your attuned to your vibration, right? I used to always say, I don't want people to follow me. I just want to be able to share information so they can grow and expand, right? So I grew the followers. I mean, Instagram says I have like 5,800. It grew to like 6K, and then it started to, as I started to not move away from Instagram, but I had to take time away from Instagram for my body. So and for my body and my health and everything, because not only was I getting my health better, I was learning all the information of blending holistic medicines and modern medicine. That they're not different. They're a vibration of energy, and because we are creators, we can tell the story of what we want the medicine, any medicine, to do for us. It's not only about the story of the pill being created by the scientist or the chemist or whatnot. That's one story. And they'll give you that story is it will help do this, this, and this, and these are the side effects. That's one story. What I learned is to be an alchemist is to change the energy of that story. We came in triune, we just didn't recall it. But now that I recall it, not only am I body, not only am I mind, I am higher being. So I get to embark on all three. And sometimes it can be a scary jump off point. So, but back to me, using me as an example. It's me I've done Instagram and gotten comfortable with Instagram for a while. Now moving, now the divine is taking my YouTube from the back burner and it kept pushing it forward and I kept pushing it back. And then the divine had to utilize someone else with a message for me, and sometimes that message just happens being on somebody else's live or in a DM talking to a friend or on a phone call talking to someone else who says something about my YouTube and says, oh, I can show you that. And they show it to you for a little while and then they disappear. They dive head first into their life, and I used to have a problem with that, especially with family that had the technology ability, right? And they would start off helping me out, getting me started, right? And then when the next time I would have a question, to move on, they wouldn't answer their text or their email. They moved on, right? Because what I finally figured out with that was it's because what they do, they make money at. So money always comes first. Why? Because that's how they support their family. That's how they pay their mortgage. That's how they, send their kids to school and do other things. So even if it's family and you say, oh, family should do for family, sometimes it's not that way. It's not that they're doing it on purpose to mess me up. I had to get out of that thought process. I had to go, nope, I'm not going to ask. Because I was there. Why ask? They're just going to put me on their back burner. They're not going to do it when I need it to be done. Right? I've been asking for certain things, and with certain deadlines, and individuals have their own deadline. They'll say yes and then make you chase them down. I just went, I don't want to be part of that. So I'm not going to ask. And that whittled down to everyone. Right? I had an idea for my logo. And I was talking with someone, and and they said, "Oh, I can, do that for you." On this on Instagram, and we were all talking about it. We were all excited, and then never heard from him. I'm not going to chase you down, but I know what I'm going to do with my idea. I'm going to keep doing it. And eventually, I kept playing with it. Yes, I might say I might be an artist, but I'm not an artist that can sketch. But I did my rough. And then, at the right time, in the right place, at the right moment, someone came in and said, "Ooh, send me that. And I'm going to send you back. Matter of fact, I sent it to them. They put it in Chat GPT. Matter of fact, it was CEO of Cash. Her name is Olivia Brewer. And she always shows up in my life and helps me out with these things. And then she'll tell me, I'm going to be off the grid for a little bit. I showed you, just play with what I'm showing you. Just play with it. Until you can't play with it anymore. And I've learned how to play with it till I can't play with it anymore. And then when I say to the divine, I want to learn more, then she shows up again. I don't have to go chasing her. I don't chase. But that's because I put out that energy. I don't want to chase. And yes, I want to collaborate. Sometimes I don't have money. Money by me to do a certain thing. But the divine showed me that currency isn't only about money. Currency can be about collaborations. Currency can say, well, oh, Sandra, you do your star meditations. I would just like, I can help you out. Can you give me your star meditations on a personal level, one-to-one level for 6 weeks? We can barter. Right? It shows up what you want, who you want to, when you know thyself and you know what you want and what you need from a individual expression of the divine, then you know how you're going to move into a collective. Then you're going to know when somebody pulls a collective card, if you're part of that collective reading. If someone is telling you about different things and energy being part of planetary shifts and whatnot, and this planetary shift is going to do this, this, and this, and it's just going to wreak havoc. You get to decide if that's going to be part of your experience. I used to think I would hear people talk about different shifts of energy and moon shifts and whatnot. And I didn't feel the energy on such a negative level as other people. I thought something was wrong with me. Oh, I must not be spiritual enough. Right? I'm staring at myself right now because I don't have my ring light on. I just wanted to come on. So the sun is kind of moving this way, and it's making it look like I have a mask. I see the shadows. But anyway, so we have all this growth and expansion that we're going to do. And we're, learning how to find different avenues to move through as we are expressing or being an expression of the divine or the creator or of illusion or of the matrix or whatever you want to call it, right? You can decide to what part you're in, and you can decide whether you want to create from it or whether you want to run from it. It's your choice. You can decide if you want to be a part of the outside world and allow the outside world to dictate your inside, your inner world. And all you're seeing in the outside world through that collective is war and disease and poverty and distrust and all of that kind of stuff, and you want that to dictate your inner sanctum. Let it. All the divine is going to say is, "Let it be so." We'll do that for you, right? If you want to say, well, the world is about to do this, and woe is me because I'm not going to how will I ever survive, right? Then the universe says, okay, that's the doors that you want to open. Exactly. If you want to allow the world to harden you from to go in within, because it's not going in without your permission. The moment that you give it all your vibrational intention, it has all the permission it needs, right? Once I figured that out, it was like, oh yeah, outside world doesn't have it still exists. The 3D world still exists. You get to ask yourself, your higher self and your egoic self, how am I seeing this? People don't overstand that. Teach them, mama, teach them. Yeah. Well, they're possibly they're not in the overstanding mode yet. They're barely embarking on the understanding. But in order for us to share our love for education, spiritual education or spiritual teaching or growth and expansion, and we're giving service to others, in order for us to do that, we have to have not just patience with ourselves, but patience for others, because it might take them their whole lifetime to get to the understanding. And that's only a minute moment in time for them. Right? And I'm only talking about, I'm not saying that our higher beings, they didn't decide that they wanted to come in and have a collective experience, right? So they have came in to this experience, they've downloaded, or that higher being took on this physical body. Their higher being was at a higher vibrational source coming into this physical body. So we had to have a little amnesia. So our higher being didn't recall that it made these choices. It put the information into our DNA so that when it started having its awakening moment or its recall moment, it could go into the DNA and go, oh yeah, that's the experience I came for. Right? That's what I came for. And this is what we, when somebody says, I'm called, this is what we're called for. The first thing we're called is to help recall. How do we help recall? Some become therapists, some become psychologists, some become psychiatric doctors, some become surgeons, some become ministers and reverends, some become authors, and some become actors, and some become everyday workers. I could name everything. And we come in for this experience. Whether the experience is positive or negative to us, we come in for this experience because we're about to help in the process of recall. Some of us come in and we play in, and you'll have to forgive me, I have my door open, my patio door open, and I have a neighbor that's kind of very loud. He has his moments, and that's across the street. But I'm going to close it for just a little bit. Hold on. Thank you for being patient. Oh my God, autocorrect is overcorrecting me today. I'm sorry for the typos. No problem. No problem. Yeah. You know what? With the autocorrect, I got so tired of it, it actually slowed me down for me to actually read stuff. So when I'm typing comments into other people's, it takes me like forever, or what I feel is forever. But so we have all this growth and expansion. Yesterday was Ascending Beyond Limitations. I collab with Marcus Crystal Light, and we do the book reading, raw material. And I just allow the divine to move through me, and the divine that is raw, that was channeling when those books were written, so that individuals can understand that they have many choices. Sometimes you can read raw and have an understanding when you're reading even the Bible, right? And when I first started reading the raw materials, it was going really fine until some of the dialogue started to feel very very closed. I went, well, how am I supposed to understand? I don't understand that word or whatnot, right? At that point, when I asked for better understanding, when I went into my meditation, for me, it happened. I just call it a meditation. It doesn't mean that I have to set up my meditational room. It just means that I get quiet with myself and say, okay, I don't want to stop reading this book. I want to understand it better, right? Then, as I was finishing up reading a book, a different book on Instagram, and I have a lot of book readings that I did. If you want to, they are in my bio. Unfortunately, they're not as organized. Instagram doesn't have like playlists like YouTube has. So they're there, you know. If you really want to find out, they're there. And so as I was finishing up the book, someone says to me, have you ever read The Divine Design? And I said, no, I haven't. Maybe that could be your next book read, right? So I said, well, you know, make sure you remember to DM me. And literally, it's The Divine Design by Lori Ladd. And I've read that twice aloud on my Instagram, full book, twice, right? But when I read it, you know, I started reading it to my, you know, out loud to myself to see if I wanted to read it, you know, to see if I connected with the divine about, is this a book that is this the next book to read? And yes, right? And this book helped me to understand the raw material, because the raw material was giving you an overview of what was happening 45,000 years ago and all these different times, where the Divine Design was a channeled book that was channeled to Lori Ladd. She never thought she was going to write a book, let alone it be channeled, but she did. And it gave you a play-by-play. And those two books helped me to understand, right? This is what I'm saying, is when people give you information that they say, okay, I got this download and it's for you, right? You don't have to take it verbatim. You don't have to take it as is. It's meant for you to sit and take the information in and say, is this really for my highest and greatest good? Yeah, because just like you say, oh, there's some quack doctors. There are people who just want to make money and say that they have a download, but they don't. But you've got a higher being that helps you know this and understand this. Let me ask you, do you think our spirits chooses our destination before descending into the earthly body? I believe they choose the destination and the journey that they want to learn. Yes, I believe that the free will gives us the ability to get to that destination or journey. I believe that's our vehicle. We're the vehicle that gets to put on the get up on the stage and say, oh, do this and do that and do this, right? Let's see, because I do think we already know everything we're supposed to know. It's just remembering the path. We know everything we're supposed to know when we begin to start recalling. Everything we know is that we are higher beings, and we chose to come into the earth, this third 3D realm, to have a journey. We chose to have a journey and go wherever that journey takes us. We knew that free will and form was going to take us on a journey. We already know the things we know from our higher being, of being a spiritual being, as part of the divine Mother, Father, God, whatever you want to call it. But we knew that we were going to shift and evolve. That was going to be part of the recalling. And then some of us say, well, if I had known that I was going to go through, all that trauma and all that blah, 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 I wouldn't have done it. Well, my higher being, I don't know what your higher being said, yes, you would have. Because we didn't choose the path, but we knew the experience that we wanted to have. Your higher being saying that. We know what we came from. We came from pure unconditional love. Well, in order to know what unconditional love is and what peace is and what joy is and what, all these other experiences that we were having as a spiritual being, not to say they weren't having other interactive play dates in different dimensions. It's just in this dimension, in this 3D, they wanted to have a physical form. They wanted to do everything they do in Formless, being a spiritual being. They wanted a body to do it in. They wanted to see what it was going to feel like. They wanted to understand what it feels like. In order to feel what unconditional love is, that's why we have the polarity, the higher polarity and lower polarities, to feel the lower, the extreme of hate or disgust or self-loathing or having somebody not love you. Then we understand, when we look at the person, mother, father, sister, brother, best friend, or whatnot, that has told us that their particular type of love, which is uncomfortable for you, and you find out later on in years that wasn't love, right? Then we kind of understand, right? Or understand that their choice for vibrationally waking us up to the recalling, it's the choice of living. I could never blame my great-grandmother for me. Other folks can blame, because we're taught as human beings to blame everything. We are taught as human beings that we are not wrong for anything that happens to us. We are taught that we're not responsible. We're taught to turn around and blame other people, even people who haven't had any interaction with you, right? But when I look at it and we talk about generational curses and generational this, and we have to do everything, we have to heal the generation before we can heal ourselves. My great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother each had their own life, their own path, their own 3D karmic experience. Then what they did is they left inside of me a little DNA that I can look at and go, oh, that is part of a story that's in me. My great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother have already had an experience. They have already shedded their mortal coil, And they have already moved back into a service with or they're part of the divine again. They don't have any karma. Karma is part of 3D. For me, when I look at karma, I remember Michael Beckwith saying that karma is a drop-off point. And I'm going to tell you, inner understanding, inner standing, the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle, that karma here in 3D is a drop-off point for each one of us. It's a personal thing. Karma is not a bitch. Karma is not your knight in shining armor that's going out and getting somebody for doing something terrible to you, right? Karma is working independently with each individual. It's your drop-off point. It's your point to look at yourself and say, where am I going with this? What am I doing with this? And realizing that the universe is looking at us individually saying, what story do you want? What story do you want? I'm going to mirror whatever you give me. And karma makes you responsible for you, or allows you to be responsible for you. It's growth and expansion as its most intensive experience possible. And there's a whole lot of ways to learn it. There are people that are having their awakening that are coming out of not believing in anything. Anything. Some coming out of, they only believed in science. Some only believed in what the Bible told them. Some people only believing that what their generations have told them about hating other people and races. So as we awaken to the choice of service to others, how we serve is only one infinite possibility in how service can be given. So you're going to learn something from somebody reading the Book of Ra. You're going to learn something from somebody reading the Divine Design. You're going to learn something from somebody reading a different version of how they see the Bible or whatnot. Right? And then when you get these collective readings, or you get people who feel that they've been called to give you these messages, whether it's from Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, or whether it's somebody that walks up to you on the street and shouts something at you, and you take it as, oh, that street urchin just spewed this to me. That's the devil. You get to have a moment where you say, okay, let me go internally and ask the divine, was that meant for me? Your divine self gets to have this conversation of why it came here, why that particular individual and its higher being chose that moment to give you information. Doesn't have to be a positive moment. They can give you that same moment because all they've done is their life choices have had them stay in the lower polarities or those extremes. But they did commission themselves at a certain point in time to show up in your life and give you a message. That blew my mind. It just blew my mind. Right? The same thing, it makes me, feeling, those feelers and the things that people say you shouldn't do. You shouldn't say ahs and ums and everything. It chases people away. But I get excited, and the divine is moving in me. The reason why this time around that I had to do my my breast surgery and my radiation treatments and my holistic healing and all of that was so that internally I could learn how to be an alchemist. Not just tell other people that they had the power to do this and that they had the power, the energy of a star, the brightest star that was ever created. You were created of that same makeup, right? I'm sorry, I'm getting hold on a second. Okay. Hold on. I got my phone kept dropping things down, so it took. But for me, it was time not just to level up and learn more, and learn how I'm going to teach other people how I did it, because what I learned is, number one, I was not going to make my healing I'm going to take it slow. My healing wasn't going to be about Big Pharma, though some people thought it should be, but it's not. My healing is about growth and expansion. It's about being a triune being. It's about understanding that energy, all energy, comes from the divine. Whether it's energy of people making medical meds, and the doctors becoming and wanting to intend to be doctors to help. Yes, there are going to be doctors. There are going to be some doctors that are quacks and they're only out there for money and Big Pharma, blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't going to be my experience. And in this experience, there were going to be other people, other beings that came in to my experience to be there at that particular time, that showed up to be my my care team with the word unconditional care. That we could be, they could listen to me, what I wanted to do, I could listen to them, and have things be collaborating. It was a collaboration. It wasn't the doctor saying, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this. And it wasn't me fighting saying, oh, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It was actually a collaboration of higher beings in form bodies that were there for the growth and expansion of my health and my well-being. Everyone played their role. No one person not being an individual or a unique expression of the divine. I had a few people, that had their moments, but their moments weren't mine. Having, individuals say, well, when I did this happened to me. That happened to you. And give them whatever feedback that I, at that moment, was supposed to give them. Usually, I try to give people kind words and try to give people an uplift to, oh, I hope you get better, blah, blah. But some people don't want to get better. They want to take the word of the doctor that, oh, they've got 6 months to live, and they've decided that they're going to do that, and they've decided that it's going to be as horrible as possible. That's their choice. You can't stop them from having that choice. And the choice is, once they make that choice, it's a vibrational choice. The universe says, I've got to mirror that to that person. No matter how much I want to be kind and uplifting and say kind words, if they're not going to change, they're not going to change that. Right? And when I say right, I don't mean that's how I usually, say what I'm saying. It's not, I have to say right to you that's right to you. It's I do that instead of hum or having an awkward silence. But it's about growth and expansion. It's about us all being, it's hard, I know, being an individual along with other individuals. I used to feel that my individuality, my uniqueness, got overshadowed by other people's uniqueness or ability to make sure that they're more. Make sure that their actions allow you to shine less. Right? A simple example. I felt, this is my how I perceive things, that when sometimes in conversations, when I would go to open my mouth, especially like as a kid in school, and I would go to open my mouth, before I even got words out, eyes would roll. Two things had to happen. I had to change that perception, but I also had to see in it, because it was done to me, do I do it to others? Right? Because then another person will say, well, you do it too, and that negates them doing it to you. So guess what? They keep doing it to you because they've already decided in their mind, well, you do it. Even if it's only once or twice. So then what happens is you say nothing. And then they get to, through their perception, put that when you say nothing, you've either conceded to them, number one, or they can put words in your mouth. I'm just sharing, when I was, growing up, high school, latter part of high school. I went to junior high school, This is, school systems have changed, whatnot. But, and then on through life. Even into family. Right? And you have to, what I finally understood, you don't have to do anything. What I finally understood is my perception about growing up, or how I saw growing up, or how I felt about growing up, or how I saw things play out growing up is totally different from perceptions with siblings and cousins and best friends and whatnot. It's got to be different. The only thing that I'm realizing is the only change internally the only change can happen is with myself internally. I can't change anybody else. And I can't make other people see the change that happens or that has happened or make them understand the change that happens. But if I get to know myself, know thyself, I decide what best fits me for my highest and greatest good. Then when I'm in whatever collective I'm in, whether it's family or a relationship, marriage, or boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the relationship is, then I know myself. I know thyself. Know thyself. So that people can see you, or at least attempt to see you and perceive. Now, some people will perceive you and see the change and go, I don't like that version of you because it doesn't allow me to be me. In the other version of you, I was able to be me. So you have to say to yourself, okay, well then our time together might be at an end. Harder for family, but easier to know when you get together with families, certain conversations that you aren't going to have with them. Easier to, when they start having that conversation, you can turn and walk into a different room. Or you can have a conversation with a different person. Or you can say to yourself, okay, it's time for me to go. And then say your goodbyes. If you're living in close quarters with them, then it doesn't mean you have to dim your shine. It means you have to know that they're not going to agree with you when you say something. And don't get your feelings hurt because they're still being them. Whatever they believe is for their highest and greatest good. They might believe that putting you down is for their highest and greatest good. You don't have to stay around for that. You can, if they're having their moment, go in your room, close your door, turn on your music, put on your headphones, and still shine. Or get in your car and take a drive and go to the beach or whatnot and let them have their moment. I know these things are hard. They're very hard. I'm going through things as well. I can't make certain people change, so therefore, and I learned this from my daughter. It's, and she learned it from me on earlier videos, right? Then you kind of like have to go with the flow. Even though their flow might not be working for you and your highest and greatest good. Sometimes trying to tell people what works for you, you feel like when you get blew off, somebody blows you off, they huff at you and whatnot. And then it's like when you're not part of, a support of their whatever their party is, then they feel that they can come at you and dump on you. They've got one set of rules for themselves and then a set of rules for how they interact with everybody else. Sometimes trying to change that takes away from you growing and expanding. You putting in the time to grow and expand you. Case in point, got a neighbor across the street, literally across the street from me every time, most of the time during the day and throughout the evening. They feel that their music should be the only music that everybody listens to. So they bump it up. They play it in their cars. They have all their cars bumping the music and they're sitting out on their porch. And they feel that everybody needs to hear, they need to have that vibration in everybody's home. So anybody that's got a window open trying to watch TV or trying to work, if they're working from home or have or sitting on their patio or their balcony, everybody needs to be involved in their vibration or even their drama. That is their story. That's their journey. That's their choices that they've chosen. Now, some people are coming in and being those individuals that argue with them, but maybe that's what they want. They like the drama. Or like me, I just close my patio door, my balcony door. I still hear it because I've got my bedroom window open, right? Which happens to face the same area. But me, I'm not going to argue with them. They're just going to play their music, and I'm going to start learning, and this is a process because I'm in it now, how to tune that out. The less I complain about it, the less it becomes part of my 3D consciousness of experience. It just fades to the background, fades to the background of noise. We've all come here to experience something. No rights or wrongs. We're just experiencing. Some of us have come here also knowing that they'll never have a recall to their higher selves. They're just going to do the experience and then they're going to leave. They're just going to experience the physical body and the mind, and they're not going to merge with the recalling of their higher being, because that's what they wanted to experience. Some people will have that moment that they want to experience at death, where they want to go be the woe is me. I wish I could have did this. I should have did this. Woe is me, blah, blah, blah. And then they have that moment where they ascend. They don't leave anything behind for their generational peeps to correct. But the thing is, if you want to believe that you have to heal everything for your generational family before you can heal, the divine will say, let that be so. That's your story. Okay, we'll work with that for you. If you want to believe that you have to karmically heal your mother or grandmother or great grandmother's past before you can heal yourself, the divine will say, have at it. Why? Because that's your story, your choice, and the universe and the energy that is seeking to express through you and become physical form says, okay. That blew my mind. Even if you're thinking about it on the negative polarity expression, the universe says, got to do it for you. There's no gray area where, we don't think for you. The universe, the energy of the universe isn't thinking for you. You were given a free will mind. And your mind, as I believe it, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, is in every cell of your body. And your brain is your core processor. That your core processor is where your egoic personality goes to get information. For a while there, it was filing it. It was giving all that information to file in your core processor. It was the only one that was sifting and sorting through it. until you have this recall of being not just body and mind. You have this recall that, oh, I'm a higher being. Now your higher being gets to sift and sort. And now your egoic self gets to learn from your higher being. And you're totally turned on. Now you understand that not only are you a receiver taking everything in from the outside world, you are a transmitter. You are transmitting from the inside out. So if what's coming in, you are transmitting out, you are on the hamster wheel. So if you want your that chaos to be gone, then you have to start with the inner sanctum of you. You have to go within, so without. That's not taught in school, or at least it wasn't. Now it might, there are things changing and evolving, but in school that wasn't it. You were taught the news is the news and it's right. CBS, NBC, KTLA, that's when I grew up, that was channel 11, and KCOP, channel 13. Those were the four news stations. And everything in it was about, that was your world and how it evolved. That was your collective. Now you've got more spirituality being opened up, and now you've got card readings and various different things about the collective. Me, I had to go into my meditation because I said it's all about the collective. They don't want you to think about your individuality. And I had to ask the divine, is that translating into spirituality, and is that taking away from being an individual expression of the divine? For me, because that's all I would hear. Then I would hear the separation, divine feminine on this side, divine masculine on this side, and I would ask, what is all this separation? And then finally the divine said, they'll understand it. Do you? I understand that I am divine masculine and divine feminine. Has nothing to do with my vagina. Though, if that's what you want to think, the divine says, let it be so. If you want to think that being a divine masculine is about the penis, let it be so. If you want to think that divine masculine is about that, go ahead. It's a choice. It's not going to be a choice for everyone. It's about becoming. It's about shifting and evolving. If we say that the pendulum has swung all the way and is coming back, are we going to vibrationally let it stop in a middle ground that we understand that both the male species has to be balanced in divine feminine, divine masculine within itself, and females have to be balanced between divine feminine and divine masculine within themselves, and that they can merge as two beings that change the whole premise of separation. There is and control, or not control, but allow growth and expansion for a new type of outer world. I hope I said that correctly. Right? It's just it's exciting when you start to understand, and eventually the overstanding is you merging with your higher being, and then you understand you're understanding and seeing where you stood under a lot of information that was you only saw it partially through the eyes, through your physical eyes, and then through your spiritual eyes, you start to understand it and go, oh, change is the only thing that was promised. It's going to happen. Whether I was about to put two words together, whether we want it or not, whether we believe it or not, whether we understand it or not, whether we overstand it or not, whether we're standing under it or not, change is going to occur. That's part of 3D. That's part of third density. How you see that change is part of your growth and your expansion. Some people will always see it through their 3D consciousness. And then there are some that have evolved, just like Earth consciousness has evolved into 4D and 5D. You'll see it through a 4D or a 5D consciousness, and the things that used to like just irk you don't irk you anymore. The things that play to your detriment don't play there anymore. Or you watch the news just to know, and then that's it. You know what what they're presenting as possibility, and then you go play in a different possibility. You decide that you want peace. You would like peace in all over the world. Then you go show the universe, well, this is how I do peace. Right? And the universe sees how you do peace, and it opens up situations, circumstances that are more peaceful. It shows you different situations and circumstances that show up that are newsworthy, that are more peaceful. And this is all growth and expansion. It's not going to be the same for everyone. That is the uniqueness of being authentically you, while someone else is being authentically them. And sometimes it happens that you can butt heads, or sometimes you can merge ideas. But it's all part of a story. I'm just saying, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. When my book comes out, I'm working on it. I had to step away because I got caught up in how I was going to do the illustrations and the cover, because that's not my area of expertise. And the individuals that have that information aren't available to me now because they're doing them. So I just have to be patient, because the divine is going to put me in the right place at the right time for all of this, the last portion of my book process, before I do the Spotify thing. I just got to be patient. right? Growth and expansion. Anyway, if those are coming in late, there were some juicy nuggets here. So it will be saved in my bio in Instagram. But I am also going to put this onto my YouTube. And I'm gonna see if it releases easily and effortlessly in my YouTube, but I will release it on my Spotify in replay. Okay? So it will be available. Meanwhile, it will, when I save this, it will be available as it moves through my feed. So catch it, save it. I hope there's a little something in there for everyone. Not everything I said is going to be for your highest and greatest good. Some of the things I say, you might go, no. And there might be that one little nugget that went, ooh, she hit the nail on the head. Right? So anyway, I'm going to take a sip of my water. Hydrate. And then I'm going to release this energy exchange. Thank you for being part of this conversation. And take what resonates. You are the creator. I know it sounds pretentious. It sounds like you're just saying, I'm God. But the divine made us in their image. We can't be anything other than God in physical form, seeking itself to have a journey. Go play at being the creator. Go tap in to your highest intention of being the creator. There are so many parts to the playground of 3D Earth Conscious. She also calls herself Planet Earth or Earth Plane that you can play on. She invited you to come play. Go play. I know that as human beings, we have been taught that everything is about work. You're an alchemist. Turn it into play. And then go with that flow. Everyone, one love, wholeness and balanced love. Enjoy your Thursday. Bye.